Hello, everyone. So we have Mr. Sushant Gupta today as our guest speaker. So to start with, let's quickly have an introduction about Sir, and then I'll hand it over to Sir to lead the session. So, serial entrepreneur, Mr. Sushant has founded 4 companies across Europe and India. SG Analytics being his most successful business venture with operations across the USA, Canada, the UK, Switzerland, and India. Mr. Sushant attributes his greatest entrepreneurial lessons to his failures, which have empowered him with the objectivity and foresight that enables him to stay grounded and close to reality. Over time, Sushant's worldview has shifted focus from aggressive business outcomes to desiring to build a resilient organization that integrates capitalism with corporate responsibility and impact. Sushant is now passionate to build SG Analytics into a truly inclusive, responsible, and innovative company. A humane, people focused, world class organization, which is a source of ease, joy, and grace for its people, clients, and society. Sushant is resolved to take SG Analytics public in the next 3 years to transform it into a regenerative business that ensures value for all its stakeholders, including institutional and retail investors. Being passionate about entrepreneurship, sustainability, and women empowerment, Sushant is also an active supporter of Isha Foundation and Sampark NGO. He has also been an early investor in Avishkar, world's first rural venture capital fund group to augment inclusive economic development. Mr. Sushant also received his BTech from Indian Institute of Technology, Delhi, and later management degree from INSEAD. He has recently been awarded the Entrepreneur of the Year award in the services business category by Entrepreneur magazine. Welcome you to the session, sir. It's really great to have you on the call today. I would like to hand it over to you to take the session over.
Okay, great. Thank you for a very flattering introduction. I'm truly humbled. But I just want to, firstly thank all of you for attending, taking your time off for this session. Although I have a few things to say, I would welcome a lot of questions and make it as interactive as possible, because then only the true gist of what is in your mind can be clarified. So yes, most of the introduction that you've given is true. Indeed, I've been an entrepreneur since '97. And it took me almost 20 years to get rich. So for those of you who want to be an entrepreneur for just getting rich, my advice would be that think again. Yes, I'm quite smart, and I was well educated, and I had all the opportunities and everything. But yet, it was only during my 4th venture, which is SG Analytics, and 12 years into the venture, that I finally could say that, yeah, my lifestyle in terms of material lifestyle has meaningfully changed. So my first point really to all of you is, I don't know whether the deck is there or not, which my colleague shared, but is don't try and be an entrepreneur on the basis of greed. Greed doesn't work. I know many of us have seen the famous movie Wall Street, and there's a famous dialogue that greed is good, and most of the West has taught us that greed is good. But my advice to you, all of you, would be greed is one of the worst reasons to start an entrepreneurship journey. In my opinion, entrepreneurship is a state of mind. It truly is. It's a state of mind. It's a state of mind where you want to self-express yourself. You want to create something new, and you want to bring something new to the market or to the world. So it's a creation. And creation cannot be on the basis of greed. It can be on the basis of a state of mind, an idea, an opportunity, all of these things. In fact, I almost argue to the point that, it is not even necessary for you to start your own company to be an entrepreneur. since it is a state of mind, you can be an entrepreneur within large organizations, small organizations, medium-sized organizations, because entrepreneurship journey is really about state of mind. And if you get that ecosystem within the company that you're working with, where you can express yourself, where you can create something, and very importantly, where you are accountable for it. Not where you create something, but somebody else is accountable. You are accountable for it, and you are ready to take that accountability. Then you could be an entrepreneur within large organizations as well. But of course, if you have your own idea, you feel that you need your own ecosystem which you want to create, then go ahead and start this journey. Remember one very important point, that the average income of all the entrepreneurs combined, well-funded, whatever the case might be, is much less than the average income of career professionals. Yes, the peak income of entrepreneurs, those who have really made it big, is much higher, but the average over a career span of 20 to 30 years, data reveals that it's much higher for career professionals. So money cannot be a reason for entrepreneurship. Even the data speaks so. So I wanted to, first bring that very important point to your attention, because a lot of us become entrepreneurs because we hear of some unicorns, some people who are in our family who have become very successful, and these, in my opinion, are not the right reasons to go on the entrepreneurial path. Linked to it, I would say another point, which is, if you could go to the next slide, is no comparison, no appreciation. Entrepreneurship is a very lonely journey. You've got to go really deep inside yourself. There are many more tough days than there are good days. And you are your only support during those tough days. Your inner strength, your confidence in yourself is everything that you live with during those times. Yes, when you start a company, a lot of your friends will say, wow, तूने तो company start कर दी यार, हम भी सोच रहे हैं, हम तो job में ही हैं, तूने company start कर दी, funding भी मिल गई इतने valuation पे, 100 million valuation. All of these things can happen, but that's not the end of the journey. That's just the start. Tough days will follow. Trust me, there'll be many days when you are just going to be alone at the top. And that's when nothing, if any of your motivators for being an entrepreneur has been a comparison, or, oh, amongst friends, I will be famous, or in family, I'll be appreciated. If these are the reasons, then they are the wrong reasons, because these appreciations, everything goes away like this. And you are all alone during your tough days, and you and your baby, which is your company, is with you. So never, in my opinion, do entrepreneurship for comparing yourself with somebody out of jealousy, out of feeling, अरे इस बंदे ने कर लिया है, इस बंदी ने कर लिया तो मैं भी कर सकता हूँ, उसका नेटवर्क मेरे से ज्यादा हो गया यार. These are rubbish reasons to start a company. Rubbish. The only reason should be that you have something to bring to the table. You feel you want an expression. You feel you want to be accountable. And it's a state of mind that you are in a creative mode. That's what entrepreneurship is. And by the way, creativity is not just starting a company with a new idea. Creativity is starting a company. Ola is as creative as Uber, because even when you bring an idea which is already there in the market to a new market, or the same market, you have plenty scope for creativity, plenty. So don't think that unless it's the first idea of the market, it's not an entrepreneurial idea. That's not true. A company is a unique entity. It has a unique culture, unique set of clients or customers, unique set of stakeholders, unique product, unique business model. And every place has a scope for creativity. Just execution can have a scope for creativity. If you just execute better than the others, your company will be more successful. So don't have this complex that unless the idea is something where people say, wow, ये तो हमने सोचा ही नहीं था, क्या idea है, that it's not an entrepreneurial idea. You could start a grocery store chain and execute it so beautifully that can be a great success. But you've got to have passion, real passion, to bring something new to the world. Whether it is in the form of execution, whether it is in the form of a new product, new service, whatever it might be, the passion is yours. And that cannot be compromised because you're going to have some bad days. That passion, that flame has to be, running all the time. Just to give an example, Walmart and Target, two companies serving similar market, but serving it very, very different. Very different. Different customer segment, different kind of products, which the basket of products is different delivery model, different brand altogether. So plenty of examples, I'm sure you're well aware of those. SG Analytics, for example, is a company which started, means there were at least 10 companies similar to SG Analytics when we started. And when I started in 2007, everyone told me, why are you starting this company? You have no experience in this area. There's no money backing you. The market is just going to go into financial crisis. If you remember, 2007 to 2010 was global financial crisis. So, makes no sense. And this company just cannot succeed. But yet here we are, because we played the game day in, day out. We're very persistent with a lot of tenacity. And we always knew that we will succeed because we created a differentiation around quality of service. We said, that's going to be our differentiation, the way we execute this. And that's today, many good things happening with SGA. Of course, it's taken 15, 16 years. But, I sit with a lot of satisfaction today that I hung in it day in, day out. So that was my second point. My third point, again, is very related to my last statement, day in, day out, hung in there, is that it ain't any instant coffee. Entrepreneurship is not about instant results. Yeah, some people do get it. They ride the wave right at the perfect timing and exit at the perfect timing. But that's few and far between. It's more like planting a tree and creating a garden of your own. And you need that kind of energy, that kind of mindset when you go into entrepreneurship. You actually don't know what weathers will come, what climate changes will happen, but you've got to nourish your tree like a mother and a father. A child needs both a mother and a father, not just a father energy, not just a mother energy. Both energies are required to nourish a company. Always think of a company like a tree, and it needs a lot of care, daily attention till it has converted from a sapling to a young tree. Where it has now a trunk of its own, and it is rooted well on the ground, and it knows how to take nourishment from the environment. So it's become a self-generating, regenerative engine. That's when your entrepreneurship journey, you can say, I have succeeded because now I've created a regenerative engine, which by itself is going to flourish, just like a tree. So it's not like instant coffee. It will outlast many ways. And remember, as the entrepreneur, you get to eat last. You don't get to eat the first. Okay. It ain't about net worth. It really isn't. It's not about how quickly can I get rich. It is all about creating a regenerative system out there, a garden of trees. That's what entrepreneurship is, true entrepreneurship. And entrepreneurship doesn't equal to getting rich. And a lot of people who become entrepreneurs, become rich within 2 years, super rich, many of them were never entrepreneurs. They just got lucky. So in my dictionary, they were not necessarily entrepreneurs. Some of them were not. They didn't come with the right energy. Their whole energy was about, entry and exit. And that's a different mindset. But at least from my experience, and as most of you are going to get into your professional life at the end of your course and already have experience, I would like to, you know, pass on the guidance that have a complete wholesome energy to the game. Don't just come with the money energy. Yes, you will make money as a consequence, but it will be a consequence of you doing all the right things. Money will come. All smart people in the world end up making a lot of money. So never worry about money too much. You know, trust me, 20 years from now, all of you will be making, you'll have more houses than you can live in, you'll have more food that you can eat, and you would be able to travel anywhere in the world and afford that. All of you here. I can guarantee you that. That's the good news. The other news is that will you be happy? And happiness comes from wholesome life. And if you're wholesome in nature, you will be very successful entrepreneurs. Coming on to my next point, it again links to the wholesome nature, is that you've got to be inclusive. You know, a lot of entrepreneurs think that it's all about them or the shareholders, which means the investors, and there's no other stakeholder. No, that's not true. It's actually about the customers. It's actually about the employees. It's also about the society you live in. All of these contribute towards your success. If any one of them was not there, if the society wasn't there to create such lovely, smart, young professionals, whom would you hire? Where would you get talent from? If the roads were not there, if the internet wasn't there, then where would all the connections come from? How would people work? Similarly, if customers weren't there, then whom would you sell your service to? Employees weren't there, then who would execute along with you? We often forget the contribution of all of them. So you've got to keep that in your mind. You know, I'm sure during the pandemic, all of you have gone through your experiences. We've gone through our own. And during the pandemic, one thing we did to give our gratitude and thanks to the society is we started our Ek Nishchay program, where we went ahead and distributed rations to around 15,000 families. This came because we understood as a company that our success is not just our success. It is contributed to by everyone, and the stakeholders, very importantly, are the customers, the employees, and the society. So have this inclusiveness in your mind, because if you have that inclusiveness, you'll be able to tap into the positive energy of all these stakeholders. You know, that's extremely important. Never leave your customers on the lurch. Never leave your employees on the lurch, you know, for your own self-gain. So this might sound contrary to many of the management books or you know, other books which are out there, which talk about being selfish and being opportunist and all of that. But I adhere to a slightly different theory. So, and it's worked very well for me. So I'm sure it can work well for everyone. Next, I want to talk about, you know, the masculine and feminine energy. Now, entrepreneurship is often considered or equated with very masculine energy, can-do attitude, persistence, tenacity, strength, financial strength, all of these things, all very good attributes. But equally, you need the feminine energy, which is nourishment, compassion, inclusiveness. All of this is also required to be successful as an entrepreneur. So remember that, you know, both these energies are required. And if you can bring that as the mother and the father of the company, you can bring that within yourself, you can present these energies, then you will be able to basically amplify these energies in your company. And any company, any institution is only a reflection of the world. And the world is full of a beautiful world is the presence of both masculine and feminine energy. And hence, a beautiful company has to be a representation of both masculine and feminine. Okay, don't get too fascinated by media. Media always promotes instant TRPs. It will write 20 articles about Elon Musk and Donald Trump and all of these guys. They are not true representatives of the beautiful world that we live in. You know, they're full of masculine energy, self-appreciation, whatever other words are there synonym, and they're very smart people and they're very successful. But when you look at their legacy 20 years from now, 30 years from now, you will find out that there was a lot missing. And they could have, with their smartness, created a lot more regenerative organizations had they possessed feminine energy as well. So don't just think entrepreneurship is about smartness or IQ. It is also about EQ. Both have to come in. Now coming to the very last point, and then we'll go into questions, because I would appreciate very much that there's more interactive questions. Whenever you are successful, don't think you did it all alone. Have gratitude. But everyone, including the maid who works in your house, who makes the rotis or chapatis, because she makes the rotis and chapatis on time, you are able to go to the office on time and do your work. So the whole ecosystem is connected. And that way you can promote not entrepreneurship through your actions. So not only will you become a great entrepreneur, you will actually create many entrepreneurs within your company who will feel like an entrepreneur, who will have the mindset of an entrepreneur. You never know, your driver's daughter will become an entrepreneur. You never know, your maid might start her own cooking or a cloud kitchen, thanks to she getting inspired by you. So, you know, your impact in the society is always huge. Don't think it's limited to just you and your parents and your friends. Every day, each one of us impacts the life of at least 100 people, at least through the network effect. If you are respectful and have gratitude towards the person you interact with in the morning, that person is going to have a great day and they will spread this energy throughout the day. So I'm saying 100 is a small number. Actually, it can be much larger than that. Because your conversations, as you become more influential, more successful, more powerful, the responsibility of having gratitude increases. It increases because now you are becoming a big amplifier in whatever you do. And that amplification is very important. That what are you amplifying after all? So make sure that you're grateful to all the people you have worked with or interacted with. And that is true, wholesome, and regenerative success. Because regenerative success is not just about SG Analytics becoming a regenerative company. It is also about creating a regenerative mindset and an entrepreneurial mindset and a happy and successful mindset amongst all the people who interact with you. Imagine what will happen to the world if we did that, all of us. And, you know, ultimately, I'd like to say that it's not about net worth, as I said earlier, it's not about net worth at all. Never measure your life's happiness with net worth. It's the most lousy concept in the world. It's all about net happiness and net impact. That's all life is about. When you go away, we all will go away one day. You will not carry any cash, you will not carry any account, you will not carry any cars, but you'll carry experiences. And these experiences is what we live life for. With that, I'll end my talk today, but I'm very happy to take questions from any one of you, and all questions are welcome. There's nothing like a good question or a bad question. I'm happy to answer any.
Thank you so much for taking us through the journey, sir. It was really interesting for us to know how your journey has been. So I think I would like to start the questions with myself. Just to begin with, we have seen a lot of things in your journey that you have just shared with us. So to understand from there, how did SG Analytics start? Like which part of your entrepreneur let that begin?
Look, in 97, when I left my job, I was working then with Monitor Consulting, which later on got sold to Deloitte. Um, I had made up my mind that my life will be that of an entrepreneur, independent entrepreneur. After that, as you had told in the introduction, I didn't have many big successes. My first idea was actually the most wonderful idea that one could think of was about bringing Google back in 97. So we created a company called CityKey, which was bringing location-based services onto the mobile phone. Unfortunately, the market was too early for that, it wasn't ready. We launched our services, but back then there were no colored devices, no screen devices, and 3G was not there. So we had to fold up the company within 2 years of starting it. I learned a lot during that in that experience. I was only 27 years old, very young, very arrogant, full of myself. The success of 2 years of being voted as the youngest and the most innovative startup in Europe got to my head. I used to be on CNN, BBC, interviews, all of that. And then suddenly the company collapsed. I learned my lessons. Number one, I learned how to manage investors, because investors play a different game. They don't play a long-term game. They play a short-term game, and they don't play a focused game. They play and it's right for them. It works for them. But one has to understand that their game is more about betting on 10 companies and hoping that one will succeed. And they want all the 10 companies to run like crazy. But sometimes you have to, walk, then jog, and then run. If you start running, you get hurt straight away if you're not ready for it, if the market is not ready. So I learned that. I also learned how to manage cash flow. That unless a company makes profit, it's always dependent on somebody else. So cash flow management is super important. But look, I was 27. I'd never been a CEO in my life, and I messed this up to some extent. Of course, there were other reasons, but there were reasons where we as entrepreneurs also made mistakes. After that, I decided that, look, I will never go into entrepreneurship unless I'm confident that I can bring in revenue. Because as an entrepreneur, number one job is to bring in revenue. You have to be the master salesman of the company. You should be able to sell the products and services. If you can't bring in revenue, you're always going to be like, what's the purpose? A company only runs with a business model. It doesn't run without that. Money doesn't come for free. So I became a junior partner in an IT services firm, which was based out of US, and they wanted to start in Europe. And I joined them as a junior partner. And my job was to bring them to Europe. And at that time, that company was only $1 million in revenue. And, thankfully, and I have to say thanks to many people, I managed to get $17 million of revenue within 1 year for that company. So that company went from $1 million to $20 million of business within 1 year, out of which 17 came from Europe. Subsequently, that company got sold to Patni Computers. It was a reasonably good exit. And then I came to India. In India, first, I worked as a farmer for around 9 months because I was very fascinated with the stories of farmers committing so many suicides. Nowadays, you don't hear so much in the news, but around 15 years back, daily in the news, there was farmer suicides. So I wanted to understand what it is all about. So I took over a land of around 17 acres near Mansar in Nagpur, and I implemented all my concepts of, rainwater harvesting and all of those things. And I cultivated, lemongrass and essential oils. Basically, I put a filtration plant and other essential oils. So I learned through that 9 months into that farming is an extremely difficult thing to make money from. After 9 months, I was making something like 3,000 rupees a month. So after having put, I don't know how many lakhs of rupees. During that time, I got connected to Avishkar. I saw an article in a newspaper that this fund has been launched. So I went to Bombay, met Vineet Rai, and I invested around 20 lakhs of my own money. It was a struggling, fledgling startup then. Because I was very much driven by making an impact in rural India. So I wanted to promote rural venture capital. So I was on the investment committee there. And through that, I got introduced to a company in Pune where two entrepreneurs wanted to start an open source training company. Back then, open source was still talked about. Today, it's not talked about too much. Microsoft has just taken over. But there was reasonable competition between open source and Microsoft then. So I was still an evangelist. I thought I would like to promote that. So I invested in that firm. But I realized very quickly that the entrepreneurs didn't know how to run it. So I had to run the company. I became the CEO. I moved to Pune. And for 1.5 years, I ran that company. It became a reasonable good size. And then I sold my stake to them because my idea was not to run the company. And now I was really doing nothing. I was just watching cricket matches. My wife was wondering what's going to happen because this guy doesn't even leave the house. That's when a friend of mine called and said, hey, I want to outsource 2 analysts from an investment bank. And can you suggest somebody? So I suggested who is now our largest competitor. That company existed and was very strong back then also, Kopal, which is now Equity Advisors. And he came back a month later, said it didn't work out with them. Would you like to do it? I didn't have a company, but I used to always maintain a proprietary firm called SG Ventures. Just in case a new idea comes, a new opportunity comes, I put it into that because you need a structure. So he said, why don't you start it? I said, okay, I don't know anything about investment banking. I've never entered an investment bank before, but hey, I learned. So that's how SG Analytics started. It was not a very big, grand vision of anything, but it was just an opportunity and I took it because my state of mind is always of creating something new. So I just took it and that's how SG Analytics really started. Sorry for the long answer, but I just wanted to give you a perspective.
I'm sure journeys are usually very interesting to be heard, sir. Thank you so much for that. I'll just open the floor for the questions. As if any of you have any questions, if you want to know anything from Sushant sir, please go ahead with your questions.
I think Srijita is saying something, but you are on mute. Maybe they can raise their hands and then we know.
Yeah, sure.
There is an option in Zoom, right?
Yes, sir.
I'm not able to see, but I guess you are able to see who has raised.
I can see that, sir. So before the floor asks you any further questions, I think I am more curious to know a little more about the journey you had. So there were a couple of things that you very specifically spoke about and that strike a chord with me as well. Say something like gratitude, something like inclusiveness. How are these two things reflect in your organization? How do you make sure that these two things come as a part of the culture of your organization?
So all this understanding really came in the last 3 years, to be honest. Post-COVID, I got introduced to a spiritual guru. I know the word guru these days means different things to different people, but we all need guides. Just like we go to business school to learn business, we need to also sometimes learn about our life and what is life all about. So through that, I learned that 3 years back, I was thinking pre-COVID to sell the company. Because even for me, despite after so many years of doing entrepreneurship, it was still about money. So I was thinking, okay, I'll sell, make a lot of, there'll be a lot of zeros in my bank account. And I'm anyway fatigued running this organization all by myself, and all of those feelings were there inside me. But then I met her and we went through many sessions, around 6 months of intensive work with her, through which I realized that The true journey, my true journey, and the true journey of SGA is to actualize its entire being. And the true actualization always comes through self-expression. And the best self-expression of a company is to take it to an IPO, attract retail investors. And when you do attract retail investors, you got to make sure you give them a return. You can't just attract them for a valuation, right? So that was one thing which came. The second thing which came is the purpose of life is ease, joy, and grace. And while you do go for exceptional business performance, you want to do it with ease, joy, and grace. So you hear of many companies which achieve a lot, but their entire management is fatigued by the time they achieve it. People have ulcers or heart problems or this and that by the time they have achieved the business performance. So we got resolved. We said we want to achieve our business performance with ease, joy, and grace. And the only way you can achieve ease, joy, and grace is two things. One, you are sharing it with others. So that's the inclusiveness and the gratitude part. You're thanking others for it. And the second is operational excellence. You've got to invest in operational excellence so that everything that you do is more efficient. Hence, it takes less time. So these two became the main anchors. One, operational excellence. The other is inclusiveness and gratitude. That's how this happened. Again, longish answer, but it's always good to give perspective.
Thank you for that, sir. I think we have Arush raising his hand. Arush, please go ahead.
Hello, sir. Good morning. Thank you for taking out the time for our course. I just wanted to ask a question based on your responses about the kind of culture that you have at SG Analytics to better understand like how to like the culture, how does it work there, and how do you like what is the structure that you follow in terms of conversation with your subordinates and so on.
So firstly, I want to say that it's an evolving culture. It requires integration at all levels, not just at the top. So every journey of every company is a continuous journey. It never reaches a stop. Just like life is a continuous journey of learning, companies are a continuous journey of evolving and learning. The culture that we are putting in place is exactly what I mentioned of inclusiveness, of gratitude towards each other, a collaborative rather than command control culture, in which everyone feels like a partner, rather than they feel that, oh, this person is the founder and the CEO, or this person is the CEO and I'm just an employee. I don't believe in many companies there's this terminology called management employees. I don't believe there's anything different between them. Everyone manages and everyone is an employee, including myself. If I'm working in the company, I'm an employee. And I'm managing some people. My people I manage also manage some people. They manage themselves also. So I don't believe in this. There used to be around 4 or 5 years back, a lot of this terminology used in our internal emails. Management has decided. Who is this management? Management is all of us. So by saying management has decided, we kind of create a barrier. Oh, management is there. That, and I'm not there. That's not true. It's just a mindset again. So these are some examples of the kind of culture we are implementing and encouraging and incentivizing in our company.
So just to add on, as we are discussing about culture, I just wanted to understand your take on moonlighting, that is going about the hot topic that we have right now. So just wanted to understand your take on it.
Sure. And I'm happy to give a public take on it. And I could be trolled for it or whatever happens. But I believe in high integrity. Whatever you do, you should be transparent about. That's it. You have the, and you should be ready to face the consequences of whatever you have chosen as your action. As they say, you don't choose your actions, you choose your consequences. If you choose the consequences, automatically you will take the correct actions. So if your company is fine with it, that you work 2 jobs, It's fine for me. But if your manager, if your company is not fine with it, then you ought to find somewhere else to do it. It should be just transparent and high integrity. And integrity is only, what is integrity? Is that whatever I think you think of me that I am doing is what I am doing. Not only what I have communicated to you, it's also the unstated communication. So if the unstated communication is that I am expecting you to do one job and only one job, full-time job, I mean, then clarify that. Is that the expectation? Not just use ambiguity as a tool for selfishness. So that's at least my take on it. But everyone will make their own choices. They have their own methods and they'll make their own choices.
Thank you so much, sir, for answering my questions, and thank you again for coming down for our session.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks, Arush, for that. Pratya, you can go ahead.
Yes. Sir, the session is like really exciting, and it is lovely hearing you out. And from the conversation or the talk that you're giving, what I understood is that your mindset toward the whole program and the business is more of an entrepreneurial. But sir, can you just tell me, like when you started with this journey, the mindset that you had and what you have as of today? So what are the transformational changes you have faced, and how is it different from what you were from maybe like 15, 20 years before?
Sure. Miss, as I said before, I was very much about myself, very much about my ego, very much about my intelligence, very much about my net worth when I started this journey. But over the process, over the last now, several years from 97 to 22, 25 odd years, I have learned that it is a lot different. Of course, I did have always the tenacity, the never say die attitude, the ability to enjoy life in any situation. I've enjoyed life when we had 200 pounds in our bank account and still a mortgage. When my first company came down, I had just 200 pounds left. But I have enjoyed then also. Me and my wife, we went to Edgware Road in London and bought a toaster because we like to have morning toast. Our toaster kharab ho gaya tha. So, but we couldn't afford anything very expensive. So we found in the ready market a £1 toaster. And we really enjoyed that toaster, white color ka bada sundar toaster. So, small joys of life should never be forgotten for the larger visions that you have. Because sometimes you're so focused on the target that you forget the journey. And life is more a journey. So these were things which I had, so I'm thankful that I had that. But I was quite money-minded as well at times. And I had to learn sales from scratch, as I shared with you. And now I would say that I'm a fairly good salesperson. For being a successful entrepreneur, you've got to be a good salesperson. You've got to be a good communicator. And good communication is nothing else. It's not about great English. It's not about dressing well. It's not about using the buzzwords. In my opinion, it's just about being genuine. It's just about being genuine.
Yes.
Often during the day, you meet somebody who's just genuine in nature and they leave a mark on you. So I've learned that it's the long-term game. A long-term genuineness wins. Long-term inclusiveness wins. Long-term sharing wins. And how many people are you building? That's super important. Like over a period of now 16 years, I'm glad to say that SGA has created so many leaders. Many people who've gone ahead and started their own companies, many people who have become entrepreneurs within SGA, and many people have joined some excellent organizations and are having an excellent career. And they started at SGA as freshers, really straight from college. So yeah, in brief, if I have told you about 10 things today, what an entrepreneur should be, I probably had 5 of them, and I was exactly the opposite in the other 5. Today, I'm glad to say that I at least make an effort to have the energy of all the 10. But there are times when you do go into this default mode, and you got to be aware of what's happening to you and present yourself, and then, center again.
Right. Thank you, sir, for that. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Pratya. Jasmine, you can go ahead.
Thank you, sir, for the session. Hope I'm audible.
Yes, you are.
Sir, so you talked about your brief stint in agriculture, your experience with that, and you also mentioned that it is really difficult to make money with agriculture. So how do you think analytics can help with that, and can it improve the situation? And also I had one more question. So management is also said to be one of the lack of management, that is said to be one of the problems in Indian agriculture today. So do you think agri consulting is also one of the growing options that that could be a possible solution for the problem?
Thank you. Thanks for asking question about agriculture. It's a very important subject. This is my opinion. There are various opinions out there. There are few issues which Indian agriculture faces. One, there are too many small scale farmers, and agriculture is a little bit of a scale business for it to generate reasonable profits, because there's a lot of fixed cost involved in investing in technology or whatever that might be. In a small scale, you just can't do that. And technology investment is required. The second point I would like to make is Indian agriculture is too much married to weather patterns and to cultivating things which are short-term cash oriented rather than long-term returns, such as horticulture or other similar things, which will take 2 to 3 years before the returns come. But when the returns come, they are much more stable in nature and much more profitable as well. So I think these are 2 of my observations. In terms of analytics usage, I would say it can help a lot in understanding weather patterns, understanding market data, where what is selling, bringing the market and the producer close to each other rather than all this middlemen in between. So not only analytics, but whole technology platforms, creating a marketplace. All of this is very important for bringing power and control to the small farmer or to the farmer. So these are some of my learnings and observations, but I'm by no means an expert in this, but I thought I'll at least give you my take on it.
Sure. Thank you, sir.
Most welcome.
Thank you, Jasmine. Shivant, you can go ahead.
Thank you, Divya. Thank you, sir, for a wonderful presentation. So I had a question regarding data analytics. As data analytics is the crux of SGA, so how much does data and data analytics affect your decision making? And so what kind of impact does it have on your EQ, emotional quotient?
Wow. Okay. Look, data and analytics should be the ground or the basis of your decisions. There's no doubt about that. And it's not as if data and analysis has only IQ. It has EQ also. It does have EQ. Because if you have to extrapolate it, or if you have to understand it, you have to apply both IQ and EQ. So yes, there's a chart which is going up of revenue and profits, but if you want to understand where do I make my investment for the future, it cannot be just an extrapolation of that chart. You have to understand the market, you have to understand your people, you have to understand whether you had some short-term successes, which may or may not be repeatable. All of these things go into being to create a successful company, and hence use data for your decision making. So what was the second part of your question? How much do you use EQ in your business, right?
Yes, sir. Like, how does data analytics affect your emotional quotient?
So, Miss, I'll try and answer this. Tell me if I've captured the right thing. Whenever you look at any data, if it's positive data, it gives you a positive emotion. If it's a negative data, it gives you the negative emotions of fear, anger, whatever the case may be. But data is data, it's just a set of facts. So what you ought to do is go deeper into it to understand what is influencing this data, and then how you could use this data for your future decisions. So yes, it does affect your emotions. And if you have good emotional IQ, which is EQ, then you should be able to take the facts as they are, understand them, and implement decisions based on the facts rather than the emotions that it triggers. And I gave you the other example also, that just because the chart is going up and it has gone up in the last 3 years, it just doesn't mean that it will go up for the next 3 years. So equally, when you land up with positive emotions, you've got to take the emotional part out and just look at the data, understand it, understand the contributing factors, and then make your decision.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. It was a good question. I tried my best to give you the answer.
Thank you, sir. Thanks, Shivang. Akash, you can go next.
Hi, Sushant sir. Thank you for hosting with your gracious presence here and talking about your entrepreneurial journey. Sir, in my past experience, I worked with companies where we developed some sustainability projects and reduced carbon footprints through either returnable packaging or some transport optimization, network optimization. So I have went through your website and found that you have developed a sustainability report and captured the environment footprint of one of the largest and small finance banks operations. So just wanted to know more about it, like what was it all about and how you did that.
So I'd like this conversation not to be about, business and deep business, because your question is very deep. And for me to answer that, I will need the person who did that project along with me to give you and I'm happy to answer the question, but if you could share your email, then what I'll ensure is that you get your reply in detail.
Sure, sir.
Because it's a deep content question you've asked, and I'm personally not leading every project, so I won't know the detail of every project that we conduct. But I'm sure the person who led that project would be able to answer your question competently. So
Sure, sir.
please share your email and your question, and I'll ensure that the answer reaches.
Sure, sir.
Thank you, Akash. Guys, are there any other questions that we want Sushant sir to answer? Okay. So I think we had a good presentation from you. We heard thoughts from you, your journey, and also had questions from our end. I think it was very interesting for us to know your journey, to know how SG started and how it grew. Very insightful, in fact. Thank you so much for taking time out to come meet us and talk to us. It was really fantastic being there on the session for the last 1 hour. Once again, sir, thank you. Thank you so much for being there and addressing us.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Divya, for arranging this. And, best wishes to all of you in your journey and your entrepreneurial journey. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Have a good day, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.